With free agency right around the corner, there has been a ton of emphasis on the players with expiring contracts and where they're going to play for next year, but there is another host of players that are going to be hitting the free agent market. These are players that I think are going to wind up being cut by their teams, and some of them might surprise you. Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, Monday nights, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I do my live call-in show right here on YouTube. And then Tuesday nights, we do our Talkin' Jets panel with a few YouTubers from across the country. Talkin' Jets, you guys can chime in and give us your thoughts. It's a half-hour show, so it's kind of a good thing to throw on in the car or, if you have a little bit of a commute. A little bit different from the 4 or 5 minute videos that I usually put out. And then we also have the Jets Discord community. I'll link that down in the description down below. I think we're up around 800 people in the Discord right now, so it's growing pretty quick. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. I actually got the idea from a Sports Illustrated article, so I'll link the players that they think are going to be cut down below if you want to check that out. But this is the list of players that I found at least interesting that not that I didn't think would get cut, but names that I think you might not have thought could have been cut. The first group of guys on this list, not that I think they could be Jets, but just that I think it could change the entire NFL landscape. And that's the quarterback position. We are going to see a ton of quarterbacks hit the open market this offseason that we have never seen have happen before. I mean, at all. Besides having Eli retire, Big Ben's probably up in the air in the next year or two. There's a lot of change going on in the NFL. And one of the things that the NFL has tried to do over the last 20 years is make that quarterback position a little bit easier to play. It makes more sense to have a ton of good quarterbacks, to have a bunch of competent quarterback play and offensive units across the league. So if you can make it so those quarterbacks are not as valuable or not as rare, then I think you can help drive that price market down. We're looking at Patrick Mahomes probably getting $200 million on his next contract or $40 million a year. So teams are going to have to start looking, hey, is it worth it to pay some of these quarterbacks that kind of money, or can we get by with a lot of other guys? Now, you look at the free agency landscape, I don't think Breeze is going to leave the Saints. He's either going to retire or he's going to stay there. But you have Rivers, Brady, Bridgewater, Winston, Tannehill, and Mariota right off the bat that could be hitting free agency, or definitely are hitting free agency, and could be on the move. And then alongside of that, you have 3 guys that I think, their teams have talked about trading them, but this is a buyer's market. You're not going to be able to trade these guys, especially with the cap hits they're looking for. Who is going to want to give up the amount of draft capital and cap space for a player that may not be better than some of the players that you can already get on the free agent market? Some of those players that I'm looking at least in the quarterback position, Andy Dalton, $17.7 million. The Bengals can save if they move on from him. He's 32 years old. He's actually not that bad. I've never really been a big Andy Dalton fan. I don't think he can get you to the Super Bowl at all. But if you need a veteran to hold it down while you have a rookie quarterback or something like that, maybe they hold on to him, or maybe another team holds on to him. Maybe he renegotiates and decides to stay in Cincinnati. I could see that happening, I guess, or he just wants to test the open market. I don't really know. The other player, Cam Newton, 31 years old, could save the Panthers $19.1 million against their salary cap. He's a $21.1 million cap hit if he stays on the team. And David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, has come out and said he would like Cam Newton back, but it all starts with his health first. And one thing that we've known about Cam Newton is he has not been able to stay healthy. His grades from Pro Football Focus, they were, trending up right up to 2015. And ever since 2015, he's kind of been on the decline. And I don't foresee this getting better. The amount of shots that he took so early in his career have probably, I don't want to say left him shell-shocked, but I don't think he can stay healthy for an entire NFL season. And that doesn't really help your franchise. So I think he's probably out in Carolina. The other quarterback that I'm looking at is Joe Flacco over in Denver. He's due $23.6 million against the cap. If they cut him, they can save $10 million, and he's 35 years old. I think they could look to move on from him just to save that cap hit. But, man, that's crazy. The amount of quarterbacks that are going to be hitting the open market and the shuffling that's going to be going all around, I don't know if these guys are going to get a ton of money. It's hard for me to see Cam Newton in a backup role or, Phillip Rivers in a backup role or anything like that. Not that I think they're going to be backups, but you know what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of interesting moves. I think there's more quarterbacks hitting the open market than there potentially are really starting spots left in the NFL. What is an NFL franchise going to look towards? Are they going to look at signing someone like an Andy Dalton for a relatively high contract when you can just draft a rookie quarterback and have more hope. There's potential in that guy. You're not really getting much more out of Andy Dalton, short of like some sort of crazy epiphany. But let me know what you guys think of those quarterbacks down below. The next player up on my list is cornerback Josh Norman from the Washington Redskins. Now, if you've seen my cornerback video, I think that James Bradbury, the cornerback from the Panthers, is going to follow Ron Rivera to the Redskins. So I think Josh Norman is ultimately going to be a camp cut. He can save $12.5 million against the salary cap. He's going to be 32 years old. And really, since 2015, when he had that whole beef with Odell and they had that awesome game where they were going back and forth, he's kind of declined each of the last few seasons, and last year wound up with a 45 Pro Football Focus rank, or 45 Pro Football Focus grade, with his overall rank being 111. So probably done at least as a primary corner on your team. He's not going to get paid the money that he's been paid the last 4 years. So interesting player, could potentially be an option. I don't think I want the Jets to steer it that way. One player that I think you could potentially look at that I think is going to get cut, Janoris Jenkins. Obviously, we know of him because he was with the Giants over the last few years. He got cut from the Giants this past offseason, or past regular season, towards the end of the year, because he dropped an R-bomb on a fan on Twitter, and I'm just like, you moron, you represent a franchise, you can't say that. And then that wasn't even the bad part. Sure, that wasn't very good, but when they said, hey, just apologize, he's like, oh, no, it's part of my culture. It's how I grew up. The guy's like, moron, what are you doing? So he winds up getting claimed by the Saints. He is due $11.2 million for next year, and the Saints aren't going to pay that. They could ultimately bring him back if he wants to restructure that, but you're not going to pay Janoris Jenkins $11 million a year. He's just not that quality of cornerback anymore. That being said, 31 years old, if you can get him for a year, maybe that's someone that you could look to, be a stopgap for a year. I would be all right with it. He actually finished out as the 28th overall corner for the year, at least according to Pro Football Focus. Whether or not you believe that is, in the eyes of the beholder, I guess. So that's an interesting option. We've been looking at edge rushers. People want to sign in Dockway. I know I'm real high on him. Dante Fowler's out there, Jadeveon Clowney, all these other pass rushers. But one pass rusher that's been in New York, oddly enough, another Giant, Olivier Vernon from the Cleveland Browns could potentially be cut. They do have $49 million in cap space, so they could hold on to him, but he's going to be on the wrong side of 30 pretty soon, and he's due $15.5 million. He can save that against the cap, and they can just move on from him. Now, he actually played all right. I wouldn't be upset with how he performed over the course of last year. He actually finished as the 21st rated pass rusher, and he still finished with an 80.4 grade in terms of pass rushing ability. So maybe he wants to come back to New York. Maybe he's a little bit cheaper than some of these younger guys hitting the free agent market. I would be open to bringing him in, I think. Now, do the Browns cut him, or are they trying to retain him at least for another year? I just think $15 million is a lot for a guy that probably is going to start declining pretty soon. And the last player on this list is someone that I think we could talk about in terms of a Robbie Anderson replacement, and I was a little hesitant to put him on my wide receiver video just because I don't know if I see him leaving this team, but that would be Sammy Watkins, and he is going to be 26 years old, 27 in June, I believe, and he is due to be a $21 million cap hit against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs do not have that kind of cap space to allow for that sort of hit, really, especially when you're looking at extending Patrick Mahomes on some sort of record-breaking deal. So if they cut Sammy Watkins, they'll save $14 million against the cap. Now, I see Watkins as a valuable piece to that offensive puzzle in Kansas City. So I think the Chiefs really do want him back, just not for that kind of crazy number. So ultimately, I think they cut him. Sammy Watkins has said that he's opting, or not opting, but he's potentially thinking about sitting out for a year just to let his body rest. And I think that is more of a ploy for him to get more money out of the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs know they want him back. I think they know he's valuable to them. And I think Sammy Watkins does want to be back there. It's a pretty fun atmosphere. I mean, the guy just won a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. But at $14 million savings, I think he's probably going to get cut. And who knows? He's young enough. He could be a Robbie Anderson replacement. He has, some injury history, so not really the best. But I don't know. If you wanted to throw a bunch of money at Sammy Watkins, you could probably get him. Guys, let me know what you think of the players that I just listed down below. Is there anyone you want? If you don't want to touch any of these guys, let me know down in the comments. And as always, go Jets.